Hi, this is Roger. Thanks for dropping by. Weather's turning hot and clear, which means I got direct sun on my glass. And it looks like we're in for at least a week of it. Well, that's as far as they're prepared to predict. It could go on quite a bit longer than that. It may get cut short. You know what weather forecasts are like. I've just watered my holy clay pots and standing here I realised I've missed one. It's because it lives on a shelf on its own. It's the only holy clay pot on that shelf. I will do that in a minute. But today's chores, first of all, Mr. Ugly's back. That's one of my old foggers. They're nowhere near as good as the new ones, or the newer ones, although that one is actually new because one broke. But I need a bit of help in here with the humidity. Looking at the last 2 days, I've been dropping down below 50%. And the temperatures are heading up towards 30, and the only way that the orchids are going to cope with those sort of temperatures, especially day after day after day, is to get that humidity as high as I can. So I've added another fogger in. That will kick in on the hydrostat, same as the others, as the humidity drops, which it's going to do soon. It's funny how the temperature climbs during the day. We had a cold night last night. Something else I've just noticed, I'll show you in a minute. I was in here yesterday, I was doing stuff and walk in this morning and things have changed. Yeah, that's good. Well, this one is anyway. Cold night last night. There's no good checking the minimum and maximum because I haven't reset it for ages, but what I will do is do it now and then I'll know how cold it gets tonight. Although we've got hot weather with clear skies, because our see, that's at a high of 32 degrees in here. That's far too high. Temperature down to 13, but I don't know how long ago that was. Right, we'll reset that so that we can see what happens tonight. But so far today, it's only managed to climb up to 22 degrees. And certainly up to about 25 degrees, I have no problem whatsoever keeping my humidity at around the 75 mark, which is where it is now. No trouble at all. But as soon as it gets a bit above that, the extractor and the inlet fan kick in to get some of the heat out, but that also takes my humidity out. So extra little bit of help, and I've put it down there deliberately because the things that are going to suffer most, just noticed something else. It's good in here this morning. The things that will suffer the most with the heat are things like the Ristrepias, the Masdevallias, and my Miltoniopsis, and the fogger's going to go straight onto those at the moment. And remember that if you've got one of these ultrasonic misters, foggers, whatever you want to call them, the mist that comes out is quite cool. If you put your hand in it, you'll soon see. It is a very cool mist. So getting that mist down on these plants once the temperature gets up is good stuff. That'll help them survive the heat. All right, one thing I just noticed, the other spikes just come out on the Miltoniopsis. Unfortunately, it's the other side of the plant, but I think I may be able to turn that plant to get both of them to face the front. I can't raise the plant up. I dare, you know, there's some plants when they're in bloom, I'm fine with them on the highest shelf while they're in bloom, even though that's not perhaps where they live. This Odontoglossum should not be up here. It should be in a cool place. But the blooms are fading now. That spike over there is going to go today or tomorrow, and this one's browning already. So the two spikes are gone. As soon as the two spikes are gone, it goes back in the cool where it belongs, and then the rest of the new growths can push on. But the other thing I just noticed is look who's come out to play. It's out of season, it's just a couple of buds that have pushed on. There's another couple in there actually. Got a job to get out because I repotted this when I split it, and I've strapped the canes to hold the pot upright, plant upright, while those two new canes and the new roots get going. But I'll bring that nearer the front so that we can see it. But that's Dendrobium prima donna. Nice touch of pink on the blooms this time. That pink comes and goes. Yeah, that's a good bit of pink on that particular bloom. I wonder if that's the extra light, because they're late in the season. So obviously it's much better light this time of year than when it normally blooms back in March. And the days are much longer as well. So I'm pretty confident that light, level and length does actually affect colour of some blooms. Some it's going to have no effect on. I mean, something like Harveyanum, that has a colour. And it's always that colour. Doesn't seem to matter what you do to it, that's the colour it comes out. And I love it. It's not just the colour, is it? It's the frilliness. Frilly lip and the other two petals. So it's quite an unusual shape, that one. And lovely yellow. Right, that was the two things I noticed out of the corner of my eye. But yeah, I'm also going to get the extra layer of shade netting along this side sometime today, mainly for the rest of the week basically. If we're going to have this light intensity, it's at its brightest and longest along this long side. I don't need to bother on the short side, because by the time the sun gets round here from behind the roof and it's face on this particular thing, it's heading towards midday, but it moves quite quickly and it's coming in at an angle. So that's not so bad. But once the sun gets round there, it's direct on this end for the rest of the day until almost sunset. So that's an awful lot of intense light through a single layer. If I get the second layer on, that'll help keep it a bit cooler. And well, that's the idea. I don't really want to shut the light out, but I don't want that heat in here. It's just too much. And in past years, I've always had 2 layers on through the summer months on both ends, you know, so this is like half as much shade netting as I normally used to have. So it's an awful lot brighter in here, and I think the plants are doing an awful lot well as a consequence, but they're not going to like the heat, not day in, day out. An odd really warm day where it heads up 30-ish is not too bad. And don't forget, 30 degrees in an enclosed space is not the same as 30 degrees outside in the open with a breeze in fresh air. There is quite a difference, you know. So anyway, an effort for the next week or so to keep the old heat down and keep the humidity up. Combination of the two. Now, I have no idea what happened to that Douentza spike. No idea at all, but the blooms have gone. The only thing I can think of, because these blooms actually opened or started to open at Malvern, I just don't think that was a suitable environment for them. These are the latest blooms to open. These two are okay, and these blooms were open when it went, and they seem to have survived. There's still a few more buds to come on that spike. There's only 3 plants here in this pot. There's plantlets growing, so there are some more plants filling up the pot. They do that, but there were only 3 mature plants put in that pot, so there'll only be 3 spikes, and when they're gone, they're gone. But there's another 2 buds on this spike. I'm going to clip these off because there is 1 bud that isn't open yet, but Douentzas do not like any form of rot or browning or anything. You've got to do your best to keep them clean. They are susceptible, so as this is a form of something going wrong, the best place for it is not on the plant, in the bin. So I'll do that in a minute as well. I'm just getting my air plants watered. They've got a tiny little bit of feed in that water today, which is unusual. They normally just get water. Just done those up there. They seem to be growing okay, albeit sort of slowly, but then I don't know how big they're supposed to be. This is a funny thing. I haven't got a clue what this is doing. It doesn't seem to grow, it just seems to sit there. It doesn't seem to be dying or anything, but that's a strange looking thing. Still, it was a job lot. It was a package of, I think it was 5 altogether, something like that. And then this one was got separately. And this one's not growing very well at all. It's, well, I suppose it is. That is a new growth up this end. Anyway, I always give them a good soak and then turn them upside down, give them a really good shake, get the water out of the leaf joints and everything like that, and then just hang them back up. That's all they get. And then as soon as that thing's done, which actually has been in there some time now, so I just turn them upside down, give them a good shake, make sure the leaf joints have lost any contained water, and then they just go straight back up where they came from, which is up there in the roof. And now that they're out, this lot goes in next. And this is the same, this just gets a dunk when I think about it. Or if I've got the sprayer in my hand, it gets a spray. Spray doesn't seem to hydrate this as much as it needs. I can tell how much water that takes on. And when I've done the 2 bundles, that one will sit there for 5 minutes or when I remember, and then that one will go in and the water level will have dropped considerably. So they do take on board an awful lot of water when they get a soak. And of course it evaporates really fast because of the very, very fine leaves and everything. So yeah, I try and keep it hydrated. Every few days, it's not an everyday thing, when I remember. It's more on that list, the when I remember list. Okay, so this is just a quick chat really. A couple of new blooms, which must admit, I didn't know they were there, even though I've just watered all the holy clay pots, except one. I must get on with that one. And the only other thing I'm going to do out here today is water the mounts. And with these sort of temperatures, that now has to be every day. I daren't miss a day now. They'd be far too dry for too long. I know 2 days doesn't sound much, but I absolutely soak these mounts by pouring water over them over and over again, so any moss is absolutely drenched. And the mount itself, the roots, I keep pouring water over them so that they're as well hydrated as they can be, and 2-3 hours later they're dry. So, you know, today, days like this, it has to be daily. I don't know what would happen if I had to be away for 3 or 4 days. I'll worry about that if and when it happens. Oh, and a quick reminder as well. If you're around at 7 o'clock UK time, GMT or whatever it is, Rachel is doing a live broadcast and joining up with John Greco in Barcelona. And I think John's going to show us his orchids that he got at Malvern. He probably got a few more than my 2 little ones. Probably came home with a sack full, knowing John. But they're doing a joint live broadcast tonight. Well, my time it's 7 o'clock. You'll have to work out your own time. But 7 o'clock this evening on Rachel's channel, live broadcast for, well, you don't put a time on a live broadcast, do you? You just chat away until you've had enough, really. Or you need a coffee or a glass of wine or something. But yeah, try and drop in, say hello. I'm sure I will be. I've actually set an alarm on my phone because that's the sort of time of evening I'm often dozing off in the chair, so I don't want to miss it. So drop by, say hello, all that sort of stuff. And yeah, I think that'll do for this little video. The only plants I'm going to film are the Phalaenopsis, which I will do later in the day. And the reason is they never get filmed. It's as simple as that. I've got far more mounted Phalaenopsis than ones in pots nowadays, and I haven't got that many, but I've probably got more than you think because I never film them. So we'll have a quick look at those, see how they're doing, see the progress and things like that. And thanks for dropping by. See you next time. And if you like this hot, clear weather, enjoy it. Get some beers, get out in the garden, get the barbecue going. If you like that sort of thing, go down the beach. That's my idea of absolute hell, is sand in me sandwiches, having to walk miles for the toilet, and screaming kids and football everywhere. So it's not my idea of fun, a beach. My idea of fun on the coast is a craggy cliff and a walk along, you know, a cliff top or a rocky beach. That's my idea of a coastal walk. The idea of the actual traditional beach doesn't appeal to me one bit. And everybody says, oh, look at the view. Yeah, it's a straight line with 2 different shades of blue, one above and one below. I can't call that a view. Doesn't appeal to me. I mean, we're lucky where I live because our coastal, the view from our coast has got the Isle of Wight in the way, which is, it's a chalk vein that runs through right on through Dorset farther down, and the island itself was once a large sort of cliff sticking out into the water, but the seas bashed it to pieces and left like pinnacles sticking up in the water called the Needles. I think there's a lighthouse stuck on one of them to stop ships bumping into it. But so we have got something to look at when we stare out to sea. But most coastal views, like I say, it's just a straight line with 2 different shades of blue. That's your lot. And seagulls trying to nick your chips. All good fun. See you next time. Bye for now. Oh well, it's working. That's one good thing, I suppose. That's quite a bit of extra humidity. If you said that my 2 other units give half of the humidity each, that's about another third as much on top. Not quite as powerful as the black ones, but not too far off. So it's quite a bit of extra humidity, and at the moment it's right where it's wanted. Yeah. I forgot to say, that's why I came back on. Rachel's live broadcast. The channel is Gardening at Douentza. It just suddenly dawned on me, it's the channel you go to watch, not necessarily the individual, because that's not the channel name. So Gardening at Douentza, 7 o'clock, live broadcast, Rachel and John from Barcelona. Not Rachel from Barcelona, John from Barcelona. You know what I mean. More coffee, nurse. See you next time.